Good evening, this is me Mahnur Gohar and you're watching Park News English. And I hope that you are doing great. So today the death of Ayman al-Zawahiri and the future of al-Qaida will be discussed in today's news. You must be thinking, who is Ayman al-Zawahiri? Who was him? And why today's news is based on him? So let's see, first of all, discuss about him, that who is he, what was his background, and what is his relation with al-Qaida. 71-year-old Egyptian eye doctor Ayman al-Zawahiri, the al-Qaida leader who was killed in a US drone attack in Afghanistan, who was the group's key ideologue and strategist, masterminding its global network and planning attacks on the United States, and had a central role in the attacks on the US embassies in Kenya and Tanzania in 1998, and the 9/11 attacks on Washington, D.C. and New York City, where nearly 3,000 people were killed. So he was named as the group's leader 2 months after founder Osama bin Laden was killed by the US in 2011. Al-Zawahiri first rose to prominence when he stood in a courtroom cage facing charges over the assassination of Egyptian President Anwar Sadat in 1981. Al-Zawahiri served a 3-year jail from the illegal arms possession but was acquitted of the main charges in the assassination. Taking over the leadership of Islamic Jihad in Egypt in 1993, al-Zawahiri was a leading figure in the campaign in the mid-1990s to overthrow the government, in which more than 1,200 Egyptians were killed. Egyptian authorities mounted a crackdown on Islamic Jihad after an assassination attempted on President Hosni Mubarak in June 1995 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. And then the green white turban al-Zawahiri responded by ordering a 1995 attack on the Egyptian embassy in Islamabad, Pakistan. 2 cars filled with explosive rammed through the compound's gates, killing 16 people. By then he was already helping bin Laden to form al-Qaida, and for years was believed to be hiding along the border of Afghanistan. So here the question you must be thinking in your minds, that what was his relationship with Osama bin Laden? So Zawahiri left Egypt in 1985 and continued his profession as a surgeon, later while treating the Afghani fighters who were engaged with Soviet troops in Afghanistan. There he met bin Laden. The two became close linked by their common bond as Afghan Arabs. So now, when did Zawahiri start leading al-Qaida? What is his relation with al-Qaida? Zawahiri became al-Qaida's leader after US forces killed bin Laden in 2011, and he was constantly on move once the US-led invasion of Afghanistan began after the September 11 attack. At one point, he narrowly escaped a US onslaught in the rugged mountains, Tora Bora region of the Afghanistan, an attack that left his wife and children dead. According to the CNN National Security, he was not a charismatic leader in the mold of bin Laden. He didn't prove to be a very competent leader of al-Qaida, but the reason that he was killed in Afghanistan over the weekend was he was beginning to take a lot more risks. According to the United Nations, he had released kind of unprecedented number of videos. Every time he record a video, there's the chain of custody of that video, getting it out there, somebody that may be taking the video. So he was becoming more prominent, and this could be the reason that he was detected. In a briefing by United Nations panel of experts last week, it was noted that Zawahiri's apparent increased comfort and ability to communicate has coincided with the Taliban's takeover of Afghanistan and the consolidation of power of key al-Qaeda allies within their de facto administration. The last known public address by al-zawahiri was an audio message released on July 13 by the media arm of al-Qaeda. Now, let's talk about that. How did the US kill Zawahiri and how that incident happened? A senior administration told reporters that the US undertook a precision counterterrorism operation in Afghanistan targeting Zawahiri, who was sheltering in a safe house in Kabul. A senior administration told reporters Monday, according to the official, a precise, tailored and strike using 2 Bellfire missiles was conducted on July 30 Kabul time via unmanned airstrike and was authorized by Biden following weeks of meeting with his cabinet and key advisors. And at that time, no American personnel were on the ground in Kabul in the time of the strike. The biggest question that arises here is about that Zawahiri's leadership is now over. If Zawahiri is dead, where will al-Qaeda go next, and who will be the next leader of al-Qaeda? Who will be the next successor of al-Qaeda? So this much depends on who takes the helm. Leaders matter tremendously for terrorist groups, especially jihadi ones, which often rise and fall based on the fortunes of their emir. For now, there is no obvious successor with Zawahiri's broad name recognition and respect within the jihadi world. The al-Qaeda core and its affiliates in Yemen, North Africa and other countries, however, have been waging war for decades, and they are likely to put forward a battle-tested leader who has at least some credibility. Indeed, it is possible that the new leader may be more charismatic than Zawahiri. The new leader will also need to ensure the loyalty of local affiliates, like al-Qaeda's branch in Yemen. These affiliates have their own incentives to stay loyal and keep the al-Qaeda name. But if global al-Qaeda brand remains weak, there is less incentive for new groups to join and more for existing affiliates to defect. Perhaps more important, local groups may profess loyalty to the new leader but go their own way in practice, a constant problem for al-Qaeda. Even bin Laden's days, Zawahiri's successor may find himself in charge of the al-Qaeda's name and a small group of fighters in Afghanistan, and little less. Whoever emerges as al-Qaeda's leader is likely to preside over a turning point in the border jihadi movement the United States is seeking to draw down in the Middle East. The Arab Spring and associated civil wars no longer grab headlines or inspire volunteers. New venues for jihadism in Africa and Asia are emerging. Al-Qaeda's new leader, however long he survives, will have his hands full. In Syria, Yemen, and elsewhere, al-Qaeda key operatives are hunted. To survive, I think they need to be on the move, avoid communicating openly, and I would say that be wary of their follows, lest one by a spy or inadvertently give away the leader's location. So these steps, however, it make difficult, if not impossible, to run a global terrorist organization. Zawahiri, for example, only issued commentary on important events like the Arab Spring that I've mentioned before, and United Arab Emirates Israel peace accord weeks later, making his remarks less relevant. The problems are particularly acute for a new leader who does not personally know many of his subordinates or who has not yet earned their respect and trust. You have just heard latest news around the globe. Again, this is Pak News English with Mahnur Gohar, with no bias, news with no exception, delivering nothing but truth. This has been Mahnur Gohar bringing you the latest news around the globe, and thank you for being with me.